Every anime fan knows L. Do you guys remember him for being strong or having some tragic backstory? No. You guys remember L because he's weird. He sits like a gargoyle on office furniture, and he holds a phone with two fingers like it personally offended him. He eats strawberry cake during a serial killer investigation with the energy of a man reviewing a Michelin star restaurant. He's barefoot, always barefoot, in a building full of international law enforcement, and he's walking around like he's at a resort. The internet memes him a lot. L edits, L sitting compilations, me in meetings with a picture of L crouching on a chair. But what if L isn't really being weird? What if the crouch, the sugar, the bare feet, none of it is random. All of it is on purpose. Just 2,400 years ago, there was a man who did the exact same thing. Barefoot, rejected every social norm, looked like a lunatic to everyone around him, and he's considered one of the most brilliant minds in Western philosophy. His name is Diogenes, and L happens to be his reincarnation. Let's take a deeper dive into what L is actually doing with his body. In the show, he actually says himself that sitting in that crouch position keeps his reasoning from dropping by 40%. Now, is that scientifically airtight? Probably not, but that's not what matters. What matters is that L tested it. He ran experiments on his own body until he found the position that gave him the most cognitive output, and then he committed to it permanently. He doesn't really care about how he looks, but he found what worked and he locked in. Now the sugar. L eats almost exclusively sweets. Cakes, candy, fruit. Your brain happens to burn around 20% of your body's glucose. So when you're running high-intensity deductive reasoning for hours on end, trying to predict the moves of a mass murderer, constant sugar is fuel management. L is refueling mid-fight. Now the bare feet. Any explanation might be a bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna try anyways. Shoes are a social contract. You wear them because society says to, like you're meant to. It's the norm. You do almost nothing indoors, really. So L cuts them because they're noise. It's one less thing between him and the case. And that two-finger grip, phones, paper, forks, he holds everything between his thumb and his index finger, and it looks kind of precious. But he's minimizing contact. Less sensation, less distraction, more of him pointed at the thing that matters. In essence, he's removing all these different external variables so that he can be efficient. It's all really the same move. Strip away anything that doesn't serve the mission. L turns his entire body into a thinking machine, like an operating system. You can kind of start to see it when you see how he runs cases. When L suspects Light, he doesn't gather evidence quietly, like a normal detective. He tells Light to his face,
I suspect that you, Light Yagami, are in fact Kira.
and then he moves in with him, and then he also handcuffs himself to him. It's pretty insane. Once you understand that L doesn't observe suspects, he becomes their environment. He builds this proximity that's so airtight, the suspect can't perform. Conversations become tests, meals become data points. He turned his entire social existence into a controlled experiment with Light as the variable. So how does he compare to Diogenes? For that, we have to go back to 400 BC in ancient Greece. This man lived in a ceramic jar in the middle of the Athenian marketplace. But he wasn't homeless. He actually chose this. He had money, he had options, and he looked at conventional housing and said, that's noise. He walked barefoot through snow. He used one cloak and doubled it as both clothes and a blanket. He basically threw away every material comfort Athens considered essential for a respectable life. And when people called him a dog, which is actually where the word cynic comes from, kunikos, which means dog-like, Diogenes kind of leaned into it. He said, yeah, I'm a dog. Dogs don't care about status, dogs don't perform. Dogs live honestly, a raw, true life. That makes me an animal in your eyes, that's your problem. So now picture this side by side. Eccentric genius who strips away every social convention, doesn't dress right, doesn't sit right. Everyone around him thinks he's insane until they realize he's lapping them intellectually. That's L. That's Diogenes. Same person born in different centuries. The Cynics had a word for what Diogenes practiced. It was called ascesis. which basically just translates to training and discipline. Specifically, the discipline of cutting away everything unnecessary until only what matters remains. Most people think that he was depriving himself, but he was really just clearing the runway. L runs the same exact playbook and same philosophy. Diogenes has a pretty famous moment. It was when Alexander the Great, the most powerful man alive at the time, comes to visit him. So Alexander stands over Diogenes, who's lying in the sun outside his jar, and goes, "I am Alexander the Great. Ask me for anything, and I'll grant it." Diogenes looks up at him and says, "Move, you're blocking my sunlight." So Alexander supposedly walked away from him and told his men, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." How fucking badass is he? Now picture L in light. Light has the power of a god, literally. He can kill anyone whose name and face he knows, and the entire world fears Kira. And what does L do? He handcuffs himself to the guy and eats cake. Both of them faced the most powerful person in their world and responded with complete indifference. Don't get it mistaken with resistance. Resistance still acknowledges the threat. Indifference acts like the threat was never real. And that's what happens when you strip away everything. Comfort, ego, fear of death, the need to be perceived as normal. Once those are gone, power has nothing left to grip. And then, in episode 25, you get the heartbreaking scene. L knew that Light was Kira. They talk about lying, and Light says, "People sometimes have to lie." L says, "I thought you'd say that." They go inside. L kneels at Light's feet and dries them, massages them, calls it atonement. Everyone reads this as Jesus and Judas, and it is, but something else is going on. L is choosing his death. Socrates could have escaped Athens. As people begged him to run, he drank the hemlock anyways because fleeing meant that his ideas weren't worth dying for. And if they weren't worth dying for, they were never worth anything. L makes the same play. Rem will kill him if he corners Light, and the game is rigged. Completely unwinnable in his lifetime, so the only move left is to die in a way that keeps the truth alive. L dies knowing that he was right. He dies having told Light to his face without flinching, "I know what you are," and when Light holds him and smirks, that smirk is not victory, that's confirmation, which L called from day one. I hate when people say that L lost to Kira. He didn't lose. Nir and Mello inherited his work. The truth eventually came out, and L just planted the seed that grew into Light's destruction. We meme L's weirdness because it's funny. But the man was sitting in that crouched position, asking a question most people wouldn't touch. What would you look like if you stopped performing normal? How much of your day goes to managing how people see you? How you sit, what you eat, what you wear, how you talk? None of it is making you sharper or better at anything. It's just filling a script, wearing a mask that someone handed to you a long time ago. And maybe that's the real question Death Note was asking. Not who's smarter, L or Light. It's pretty surface level, but the actual question is what you're willing to give up to become who you actually are. Light gave up his morality and L gave up his humanity. One became a god, the other became a philosopher. We all know which one actually won.